Hey, welcome everybody. Thank you guys for joining the All Access Podcast. This is season 2, and we have got a brand new set. We got some great guests that's on today. It's going to be a great day. Listen, we want to make sure that you guys know that we're sponsored today by Novity. Novity helps you to maximize your church engagement. If you want to know more information about it, you can go to novitybrand.com and you can learn more information about it. I'm also pumped because we have Empower coming up.
Yes.
That's going to be happening in June. Rene, tell us a little bit about Empower, man.
Man, one of the things I love about Empower is that it just gives an opportunity for all the churches that we're connected with to get connected to a family because, sometimes in church you can feel alone. Right. And the point about Empower is just to give people an opportunity to feel like they're connected to family. They have community. They have people that's in their corner backing them and everything. So, so that's really what Empower is about. Just about the community and everything.
I love it. June 12th through the 14th.
That's right.
Yep.
It's going to be really good. And then we're combining with BoldX.
We are.
That's going to be cool.
It's going to be huge. Yeah.
That's right. It's going to be huge.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So
hundreds of people.
we want you guys to come to Baton Rouge, get you a bowl of gumbo, hang out with us June 12th through the 14th. It's going to be amazing. So we're going to be diving into a topic today that I'm really pumped about. I'm glad you guys are here because you guys are really good at this, about establishing really healthy rhythms. And as we start the new year, this is the first podcast of the new year. And we want to talk a little bit about that and what that looks like and what that's all about, because there's always New Year's resolutions and all those type of things. And I love to just deep dive into that and kind of see, and hopefully it helps some people out there with that. So today's first question is first of all, do you guys make, and Lisa, maybe you can kick us off, do you guys make New Year's resolutions?
Yeah, I think I used to make a resolution and one thing to kind of focus on for the year, but I moved into setting more goals and focuses for myself. So not necessarily I'm going to do this one thing and it starts and it stops and whatnot, but I have more focuses for the year. And something that I did this past year was I had maybe like 4 or 5 focuses, which is great. For some, I feel like I'm an achiever, so I want to do my best at lots of different things, and I always have a goal or a focus for myself in many different areas. But something I learned this past year was it didn't work.
Hey, thank you for your honesty. All access, y'all. That's all access.
You were going somewhere. You had to go with this, Lisa.
Yeah, no, it didn't work for me like it had in the past, and I'm just in a different season. And so I do set goals, but this year I'm going to focus on one, and it's going to be way more specific. Funny story, my husband and I were talking about our goals at the beginning of this past year, and I had this whole plan. I wrote it out in my journal. I had 4 very specific goals and focuses I wanted to work toward, and I had scriptures lined out for each one. I had them written out. They're on my mirror still in my bathroom on index cards. I had a whole thing for all of it.
A whole plan.
A whole plan. So I told him, and he was like, wow, like I guess I need to start thinking about what I'm going to focus on this year. I said, well, yeah, I mean, I have this whole thing. And so he came up and he was like, okay, I got mine. I'm like, oh, I'm excited. I thought it was going to be like real deep and spiritual like mine were. And he said, well, I just want to invite people over for Pancake Day. And I was like, you want to do what? So
That's awesome.
It is great. And it has been great. We have a Pancake Day, so every Saturday he makes pancakes, and Renee's had them. They're pretty awesome.
It's very good.
Yeah, and
I don't think I've had it.
I think this is probably an invitation. Would you like to come over for Pancake
Please
Day?
Keep going.
Next Saturday. So he does. He makes pancakes, and they're awesome. And his goal was just to invite more people over to our home, and it didn't seem very deep at the time, and I kind of laughed at it, but it was actually a really good goal, and we did it. We could see it. So mine, you really can't see too much movement down the field. Just wasn't a good season for me. But
well, that's all right.
Yeah.
But the good thing about it is that you learn. You
I
know, you
did.
live and you
Yeah.
learn and you figure out what works
Right.
in this season of life. I love what you just said
Yeah.
there. Is that sometimes things worked when you were single or back in college or
Right.
what have you, but as a mom, as a family person, sometimes things are different.
Yeah.
They're very different.
Yeah. Renee, what about you, man? How do you go about goals?
Man, I don't plan goals. I'm kidding. I do.
Yeah.
I like goals, but one of the things that I learned about setting goals is because I'm a natural achiever and want to perform. I noticed that whenever I would like have New Year's resolutions and goals, and let's say I have 4 or 5, but let's say I didn't achieve all of them, I would really beat myself up. Just being honest, because I'm like, man, I'm a failure. I suck at this, man. I'm like, look, I wasn't consistent and all this type of stuff. So I would really get defeated. But I would say probably the beginning of this year, the Lord kind of just gave me a different revelation about it. And I felt like the Lord was saying, Renee, instead of really focusing on what you're going to do, I want you to start focusing on the person that you're going to become. Mm-hmm. And that really, really touched me in a different way, because now I started to realize that, it's not really always what I'm going to achieve, but what type of person do I want to become?
Right.
And honestly, it just made me start to remember just all the times in high school and in college, when your teachers are like, hey, what's your 5-year plan? I'm like, I don't know. I'm a freshman in high school. I'm just got out of 8th grade. I'm trying to figure out, just trying to figure out everything.
Right.
And then when you go to college, they ask you the same thing. But they say instead of 5 years, they ask 10 years. And you're like, 10? I'm only 18 years old. What I'm supposed to be doing? And through all of that, I realized that most, people would usually ask hey, what do you want to do in 5 or 10 years? But they never really ask the question, what type of person you want to become in 5 or 10 years. Mm-hmm. And just in the beginning of the year, I just really felt like the Lord was just challenging me, because he just showed me too that, man, when you really focus on the person that you want to become, the goals and the things that you want to achieve actually, they become easier,
Yeah, I feel like they would align with who you are now. You're not
Yes.
just setting random goals for yourself that don't align with your
Yeah,
person.
see, that makes so much sense, because when I would achieve a goal, I would just achieve the goal and just say, yep, I got off the checklist, I did it. But then I realized it really wouldn't become part of who I am, and then I wouldn't carry that on to the next year. It's just
Right.
something that I just had a checklist. So now I would say my goals and my New Year's resolutions are usually now, since 2023 is really more so focused on what type of person I want to become the next year. And then with that, I start aligning my life around those things. I start asking questions. I start partnering with different people, trying to get some insight and everything. Because one of the things that always came to my attention was, as a young man, of course, I want more money in my bank account and stuff like this. So I'm always thinking about different things that I can make some more money. But then I realized, I'm like, why do I really want more money? Is it because I just want more money, or is it because I'm not a good steward with the money that I have now? And then I just kept realizing, I'm like, man, if I become a better steward now, then those goals and those things that I'm setting up is going to help me become a better steward later. Because what's the point of making more money if you're not even a good steward with what you have now?
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm at with all
That's
the
great.
goals and everything.
That's fantastic, man. I think for me, it starts off with a review at the end of the year, which I think all of us like to do. But I'm really big on it, because everybody likes to do the big set the goals, but I like to really take moments and review at the end of the year and say, okay, what did we accomplish? What did I accomplish? And then for me, it really helps me to set a few commitments that I want to accomplish in the coming year. And it works for me, and it's been working for me for a few years. A lot of times at the beginning of the year, at our church, we always start off with prayer
Right.
Yeah.
and fasting, and I really try to utilize that to bring that before the Lord.
Yeah.
And not to sound too spiritual, but I do try to bring those before the Lord, because I want Him to be in alignment with what I'm doing. Because the scripture that stuck with me in all of 2023, and I'm carrying it into 2024, is that we make plans, but God orders our steps.
Right.
And so I really want my plans to align with His plans and be in step with Him. So that's kind of the way I approach goals. And and then I think the last thing is to not beat yourself up too bad over when those things don't happen,
Yeah.
right?
Well, stuff
Yeah.
changes.
It
I mean, your
does.
season changes in the middle of the year sometimes.
That's
and,
right.
And it's sometimes stuff that you can't even control. I mean, a family member gets sick, or
Yes.
somebody passes away,
Yeah.
or maybe not even that serious. Maybe you're just burned out, and you just got to the end of your rope, I talked about this past year for me. It was difficult for me to carry out all my focuses, but I feel like the past year was really a thin plate year for me. So, you see those really nice Chinette plates, and they can hold like a whole steak, mashed potatoes, whatever sides you have, and it holds it, and it's holding it well. And then you have like the really awful foam ones from Dollar Tree that like you put a half a sandwich on it, and it's like and it breaks. I'm like that. I've kind of felt a little bit like that this past year, and it's okay.
That's
and
all right.
nothing really happened though. I think that was the surprising thing for me, was that I didn't have a major sickness in my life or in my family's life in the middle of the year. Yeah, praise God. That set it off course, but it's just been a year. I have my 2-year-old just turned 3 in December, and I have a 5-year-old as well, and so we're my husband and I are both working, which is amazing. We love it, but it just takes a lot of time and energy, and this year for me was just
good.
It was that. So so being able to reassess in the middle of your season is helpful, and when things don't work, it's okay. Like you said, not beating yourself up about it, I think is helpful.
Lisa, I do have a question though. Like when you were talking about like your New Year's resolutions, you said this word quite often, focuses.
Yeah.
Like that really stood out to me. Like why would you say like, hey, I have focuses instead of goals?
Well, I think one of my reasons was I'm a bit like you, and so if I set a goal and I don't accomplish it, I feel like I failed. But if I set a focus, it's more of my attention to the matter, not my achievement. So
my God, I gotta write that down. Hold on.
I don't know if I can remember that.
Text me that, y'all. I gotta put that on. Yeah. That was good.
But it does, and it shifts your mindset, at least for me. So my mindset isn't so focused like, I'm just using this as an example because this is what everybody does. I want to lose 15 pounds by, Valentine's Day. And, by January 31st, you've like forgotten what you've even tried, like you set, and a lot of them are unattainable. You're not assessing your season. You're not, giving yourself attainable goals, so it's not consistent with your season. They're not attainable for where you're at, and they don't align with your family. And so, so you're setting these things, and so maybe my goal is I had a goal to run a half marathon, and this was true years ago before I was married, and I set these great specific goals out to do this. But if you're married and you have a family and that's your goal for your season, it might not work because maybe your long run is on Saturdays, and that's going to take you 2 hours, and Saturday's the only day you really have with your family. That's probably not a good goal for you for the next year. So I kind of backed off of the goal setting and set more of a focus. So it just helps me to wrap my mind more around what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And if it doesn't go exactly as planned, I don't feel as negative towards it.
You don't condemn yourself.
I don't condemn myself, because it was just a focus. And so if I focused on it at all, I won, because
that's good.
There was a little bit more attention on it. And so hopefully I can, like you're saying, kind of, it snowballs. So I bring it into the next year, and so on. So hopefully that'll work for me this year.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think Lisa was saying something, and which would probably lead me to my next question. There's so many different things that are going on in life, right? I mean, life is shifting back and forth, and I think a lot of people who are watching or even listening to this feel the exact same way, that life is moving all over the place. Rene, man, how do you manage life, personal, work, all the different things? I mean, you guys know here at Bethany, we've got a lot going on. We go to an amazing church that's got a lot of vision, and it keeps us busy. But how do you manage? And of course, Lisa, I'm going to ask you the same thing. How do you guys manage it? And I'm not throwing this out here for any reason, but it's good because it's two different mindsets. Rene is a single man, which you can call him if you want to. But I think it's great because I would love to hear your perspective. But then Lisa's married with 2 kids, and so I would love to kind of hear both sides of the coin, right? How do you manage personal life and everything?
Absolutely. The first thing that was literally coming to my mind was this one word called the Sabbath. The Sabbath, I would say, is something that really helps me to really just refocus on the things that matter, but also just help me just realize, like, you know what? This life is fast, but I don't have to run at the world's pace. I can go at God's pace. Because, as you were just saying that, literally, this memory would just come to my mind. I remember, I think it was my third year in Bethany College. Shout out Bethany College.
Yes.
I was my third year in Bethany College, and I was just telling Dr. Tony, I was like, man, I'm just so tired. I'm just like, ugh. I was just kind of complaining, like, I was working summer and I was doing all of this. And he asked me just one question. He was like, do you have a Sabbath? And I was like, a what? He was like, yeah, it's one of the 10 Commandments. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't. And I just remember he just started to talk to me about, like, the importance of a Sabbath and how if God rested after he created everything, you need to rest too, because if you're not taking a Sabbath, are you saying that you're more important or busier than God? And that just really stuck with me. And it just really made me reassess what was going on. And I remember after that conversation, I actually talked to one of my friends, Brett, and I was like, bro, you got to listen to this. Like, this is what Dr. T told me. So I started telling him everything. And honestly, I would say in that moment, if I did not have that conversation with him, I probably would have quit Bethany College because I was just tired and everything. But I would say taking a Sabbath, a daily, I'm sorry, not a daily, Sabbath one time a week, a weekly, that's right. It's
Every
weekly.
day is Sabbath day for
Every
you?
day is not a Sabbath, yeah. A week.
You wouldn't have a job if you took a week, a daily Sabbath.
You know what I meant to say.
I know what you meant to say.
A weekly Sabbath.
Yeah.
I would say that really saved, like, my life, I would say. And that saved my, just the calling that God had for me for Bethany College and what I'm doing now. And I would just say the Sabbath really does work. Like, we can never underestimate the power of rest, because it really does reshift your focus. It resets your perspective, but it also just helps you, like, it just gives you energy.
Right.
Like, it's just a time to enjoy life, have fun and everything. So I would say how I just kind of balance everything, I would say, like, the Sabbath is literally the thing that helps me just retain everything.
Yeah.
Yes. It's hitting the reset button every week.
That's right.
It really is. And we all need that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how hard you think you can grind and work. We need to hit that reset button every single week just to recalibrate and give us an opportunity to do better. So that's really great. That's great. Lisa, how do you manage everything?
Yeah, I kind of alluded to it a little before, but assessing my season is huge for me. It's just so quick paced right now. The change is quick paced. So once we think we're good and we figured things out, the baby turns into a 1-year-old and the 1-year-old turns into a 2-year-old, and they're everywhere, and he's a boy, so he's really everywhere. So there's just lots of changes. So I assess my season quite frequently, now probably every few months, just to kind of see where I'm at and if it's working. Aligning your goals with your family to see if it works in that season that you're in, and then making sure that they're attainable.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's worse than setting a goal for yourself that's unattainable, and we kind of touched on that. But some other, like, just real practical things that I do is I set boundaries and I remove notifications and remove distractions. So, like, on my phone, I cannot stand to see the little red bubble pop up.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
I like every email to be read and every message to be
same here.
read and responded to, and it's just not attainable for me in this season to read everything, respond immediately. If it's for work, I absolutely need to do that, but in my personal life, stuff just has to wait. And so prioritizing things, so, like, I'll move my home screen around. So, like, my apps on my home screen, if I don't want to see it, or if I know it's not the first thing that I need to see when I open my phone, it goes in a folder somewhere or on the second screen, so I have to at least swipe to see it. I take the notifications off of my email, not my messages, because that's more important for other things, but I take notifications off, and so I set boundaries and remove some distractions, and then just really getting down to what's extra and what am I doing. Is it necessary? Have I put this pressure on myself, or did it come from somebody else?
Like an external thing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
because a lot of times we're doing stuff, might be really great stuff, and stuff for the kingdom, like to move the kingdom forward, but it's not for you in this season. And so I have to think, well, who told me that I had to do, for example, all the laundry, all the dishes, all the housework, and work, and raise kids? And nobody. My husband is there to support me, and he reminds me of that quite often. He's like, why are you doing all of these things? Just tell me to do something if I don't see it and do it immediately. So just reassessing that as well, and knowing what's necessary for that time. So that's great. Right now, that's how I'm doing it.
That's great.
Reassessing. That's
No, you were talking about the little bubbles on your phone. My wife has hundreds of those things on there, and I can't hardly take
handle it. No.
I'm just like, oh.
Just this morning I saw
she's got
one,
2 emails, and the one that she doesn't really check, that's the one that's got hundreds of them on. It bothers me. But I totally get it. I'm the same way. I've got to check everything, but that can put you under pressure.
It can, if you're that kind of person.
Yeah.
Some people it doesn't bother,
right.
But for me, I know myself. I know it's going to be a bother to me, and it would probably stress me out all day. So I just remove it, and so I don't even have to deal with it, and I can deal with it when I have a few minutes to take to do that.
That's really good.
That's really great. That's really, really, really good. What happens when maybe goals and things, because at the beginning of the year, people do set goals, they set focuses, and we kind of touched on it a little bit, like Lisa said at the beginning, that she set focuses or goals at the beginning of the year, and none of them happened, right?
It's a little bit in each area, which makes you just enough annoyed to never want to do it again.
Right. Exactly. So how do we manage that? How do we manage when we set these things, but unexpected things come up, right? Just things that you didn't know, season shift in the middle of the year. And how do we handle that? Because I know, again, somebody may be watching right now and may be thinking, man, how do I handle that? Because I was on pace, I was on track, but something threw me off. And how do you shift out of that? That, for me, is a little bit frustrating, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Because I'm so like goal focused, and I'm like one track.
Oh, yeah.
And if something throws me off,
it's a whole thing.
Yes, it's a whole thing.
It is.
And so how do we handle that, guys? Talk to somebody who's needing that. Maybe Renee, you go first.
Ladies, I'm messing.
Ladies first.
I mean,
I'll go.
Fine.
Yeah, I would say probably I have to separate myself, like my identity and who I am as a person, from my goal. Because just as I mentioned earlier, if I don't accomplish it or even like tackle it just one time, I would really beat myself up and say, man, I'm a failure. I suck at life. I suck at this. But the thing that I realize is that I really have to separate myself from my goals. I have to say, you know what? Yes, I can't get to that right now, but that doesn't mean that I'm a person that's inconsistent or not faithful or doesn't have integrity for this. So I would probably say, like, for me, the thing that I'm still learning and growing and just still trying to figure it out is this: I just really have to separate myself from those goals. And then with that, I would say talking to people about it, because having friendships are important to me, I would say, and having people in your corner, because you're able to go talk to them and kind of let them know what's going on. And then it's interesting to hear their insights and their perspective on it, because they're your friends will probably give you more grace than you give yourself.
Always.
And talking to my friends or even like leaders, they help me realize, like, bro, this is really not a big deal. Like, it's okay. Like, yeah, you got all this stuff going on. You was in the hospital. It's okay. Like, you don't need to go work out while you're in the hospital. Like, don't beat yourself up, And I would just say, like, going to my friends for sure, and just talking to people that I know that's in my corner, that really have my back and can speak truth, but also just give me a reality check. And then 2, I just really have to separate myself. I just have to separate myself from the thing that I'm doing, because I'm actually reminded. I don't know what leadership guy or pastor said this, but he said, it's probably John C. Maxwell, but he said leadership flows from being, not doing. And
sound like something I would say.
You know what? It probably was.
Go ahead. Maybe not.
Was Pastor Wayne? Yeah, was Pastor Wayne the same? But I think that principle still stands true to who you are as a person when you're setting those goals and things like that. Like, everything that you are just flows from your being, so you don't have to identify or attach yourself to those things. And I think like what you said about reassessing, I think that's very good, because just like what Pastor Wayne said, I can be very goal oriented, and I'm like, I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna do this, but I'm burning the people that I'm doing it with.
Oh, for sure.
And I don't want to do that,
Right.
you know? So I would say just reassessing really helps as well. Yeah.
I would say, you talk about comparing yourself to others, and it's really easy to do that these days with social media, and just it's loud. But I've learned that I need to not compare myself to myself, a previous version of myself. So when something changes in the middle of the year, and I get frustrated, just like we've been talking about, like I've set this thing out and I didn't accomplish it, or I can't do it, I need to remember that peace in my life is way better than comparison. I mean, it's in the Bible, heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones. So why am I going to struggle with this internally with myself when I can just say, you know what, this is my reality now. Whatever shifted, and let's move forward. So make peace with yourself and your home. It's gonna end up being way better. You can achieve more that way than if you just push through this thing it's not attainable. It's not aligning with your family. It's a hard season. Just let it go. In the words of Elsa.
That's great.
Come on, Lisa, we got to have you on another podcast. We got to get you on another one.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, I think for me too, I think, like you said, it's very easy, and I think everybody can go back and see all the things we didn't accomplish, or maybe the goals that we were trying to accomplish. But I want to encourage a pastor or a leader that's listening to this, think about what you did accomplish. Think about the people that you did impact. Think about the lives that were touched through your ministry or whatever it was. And I think that helps me, because, again, it's very easy to point out all the things that you didn't hit. I mean, I didn't nail these things. But you know what? You did do something. And the fact that you're here, and there may be lives, like you talked about, the pancake thing. That was awesome. You built community.
Yeah, it's been great.
And it's been awesome.
I got to say, they were good.
They're the best pancakes I've ever had in my life.
Again,
you're invited.
I'm sorry.
Every Saturday in 2024.
That's a goal.
That's a focus,
That
Lisa.
you have.
That's a focus for 2024.
Of mine or his?
Both.
Absolutely. But focus on the things. So I hadn't had the pancakes, but I'm telling you, we've done some things for the Lord, and I think it's important to always be reminded of that. Sure. And to encourage yourself. David says you have to encourage yourself in the Lord, and it's not a weak thing. It is something that you have to really speak into your life, because we can't focus on the negative or what we didn't accomplish. Focus on what you did accomplish. And so I think that's important. Well, guys, this has really been awesome. It really has been, and I'm sure we can talk about this for another hour. I don't know if anybody would be listening to us after that, but this has been fantastic. Any final thoughts you guys want to say regarding this topic, Lisa?
Oh, put me on the spot.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, going back to I feel like a pastor. I'm going to give you your 3 A's.
Yes.
Right? So assess.
Yes.
Align your goals.
Love it.
What was my other one? Attain. Make sure they're attainable. So assess your season is probably my main one. Just go back, reassess. Do it every week if you have to.
That's great.
You might be in that kind of season where you just need to keep reassessing.
Yeah. Love that. That's great. Renee?
Yeah, I would say, just as one last final thought, I would say sometimes we make decisions of whether is this going to be doable in my life. Sometimes we say like, oh, this can be doable. I can do this sport. I can do this. But I think the question we should just ask ourselves, will this be sustainable? Because not everything that's doable is sustainable.
That's
so
great.
I would say, in making decisions and with rhythms and goals and all that type of stuff, just really ask yourself, will this be sustainable instead of just doable?
I love that, man. That's
Thank
really
you.
good. That's really good. That's awesome. Well, this has been great. Hopefully this has helped you guys, and just encourage somebody as you're planning this new year and getting ready for it. I believe that this is a great podcast. Man, show it to your team. We'd love for you guys to continue. We're going to have more great content and great people that's going to be coming on, and we're excited. We're going to have different hosts. It's going to be awesome. So stay tuned in to season 2 of the All Access podcast, and we'll see you next time.